Hey, Daily Dosers. We've been marching our way through Ephesians, and we've been particularly talking about the armor of God and putting it on. And today I want to talk just briefly about a thing called the helmet of salvation. To understand what the helmet of salvation is, we got to go back to the first century. When the Apostle Paul wrote this, combat was basically mostly hand-to-hand with some arrows, thrown every now and then in a catapult, as it were. But in that situation, your helmet was incredibly important. If you went into battle without a helmet, you were not likely to come out of that battle. Now, when it comes to spiritual warfare, and by the way, it's spiritual warfare, not cultural warfare, but the warfare, the battle for my soul, against the cravings of the flesh, against the discouragements that the enemy can have, all of those things that cause my faith maybe to be weakened or me to be tempted to give it up and take things into my own hands rather than trusting God. He says the helmet of salvation is incredibly important. And that simply means that as I go into spiritual battle, as I face the discouragement, as I face the hardships, as I face those times where either the enemy's throwing something at me or the Lord's allowing something in my life that doesn't make sense, what I need to hold on to more than anything else is my understanding of salvation. You see, Satan's the accuser of the brethren. He's the one who's going to come alongside and say, man, you blew it there, you blew it there, you blew it there. What kind of hypocrite are you? Just give it all up. He's the one who's going to come and say, well, the Lord hasn't really shown up at this point yet. He's probably not going to show up. Why don't you take it into your own hands? And at that point, I need to always turn as I'm hearing the words of the accuser that I am unworthy and God is not there for me, to hear the words of my defense attorney, Jesus Christ, who is my advocate and my Savior. The one who says, no, he's not worthy, but I paid for him. He is mine. He is my son. She is my daughter. That's what the helmet of salvation is. It's the perspective and the understanding that even when all hell is breaking loose, I have heaven for eternity. Even when it looks like I have totally blown it, I have salvation, not in my own works, but salvation in the work of Jesus Christ. And in those darkest of times, under the onslaught of the enemy, under the onslaught of a fallen world, the more clearly I can see my salvation, the more clearly I can see my guaranteed eternal reservation in heaven, the more strongly I will be able to stand up against the schemes of the enemy. So today, put on your helmet of salvation. Maybe take a few moments and just kind of reflect upon how important that eternity is, and how 1,000 years from now, whatever your biggest battle is today, how tiny it will seem then. And go to battle.